What is going on, everybody? Happy 2018. I know I'm a little late. This is kind of like my first face kind of video of 2018. And today we're talking about switching from Nikon to Sony.
Nikon makes better lenses, you know? It's got better image quality in glass. And they've got a great lens selection. What are you doing? Why are you switching? Like, you're gonna miss the DSLR. Like, how do you focus in low light with the Sony?
You know, earlier you saw my film camera, this guy right here, the Nikon FA. I actually didn't switch from this. I switched from the Nikon D7000 and I switched to the A7 Mark I. And I just recently picked up the A7R Mark III. I wanted to sort of explain why I switched. It all comes down to what you need from your camera and from your equipment, right? D7000 was a crop sensor. I wanted a full frame camera. I had already started picking up some full frame glass from Nikon in the form of little manual focus lenses. I switched to Sony because of probably peaking focus. Peaking focus, just because I own a ton of manual lenses, it really helps me out when I shoot video and photo. With this guy right here, the A7R III, the LCD and the viewfinder, you know, is a higher resolution, so the peaking is a little more sensitive. And from the A7 Mark I, it was great even with my manual focus lenses. Even better with the R Mark III. And I didn't want to sell them because I still kept the film camera, the 35mm Nikon FA. So I don't want to get rid of those lenses. I could buy a simple adapter, and you know, a lot of people will say, well, you're not fully invested in the Sony ecosystem because you don't get Sony lenses, and you know, that's fine. You know, I want to make the most of the lenses I do have, and once I get more paid gigs and jobs, I'll probably add some more Sony lenses. I also wanted a camera with higher resolution, 42 megapixels, and the thing is, I like to, you know, have the option to be able to print big if I wanted to for video. The Sony line of cameras does video pretty good, pretty well. I mean, sure, it's got 8-bit recording versus Panasonic's 10-bit, but for what I do, it suits my needs. Nikon didn't necessarily suit my needs, especially with the D7000. You know, I got 1080p at 24 frames a second, wonderful. With the A7, even the Mark I, it shoots 1080p at 60 frames. You can slow it down. It looks smooth. It looks a little more cinematic. With this, it shoots 120 frames a second, and it looks buttery smooth. You know, it's not going to be the 120 frames a second you get from, say, a Canon 5D Mark IV or from the 1D Mark II, but it does the job for what I need it to do. So 10 frames a second for me, I think, is more than enough, especially when you've got people moving, you know, in events and during a wedding ceremony, try to capture that quick moment, that snapshot, and sometimes you only have that one opportunity. So 10 frames a second, more than enough for me. I didn't need anything faster. And I also value the fact that it has a silent shutter. I know the Nikon cameras did have like a mirror up mode and a silent shooting mode, but you still heard that sort of clunk of the shutter when you would even press that button. So for this, I can roll with this in a church and be respectful of the ceremony. I can adapt any lenses on here. So adapting lenses is easy, and like I mentioned with the peak focusing, it's so much easier to focus manually, and it's wonderful. And now, you know, it does give me the option of going to pick up Canon glass, like if I really wanted. Another reason I also switched was because of in-body image stabilization. The A7 Mark I, which I'm filming on right now, doesn't have stabilization, but the R Mark III does. With the in-body stabilization, I could shoot at 200 on my 70-200 at 1/50th of a second, which is insane because I can get a steady shot with the stabilization from the body and from the lens in tandem. I have manual focus lenses that don't have lens stabilization, and I can still take advantage of it with the body stabilization. So I could be running and gunning, filming about, doing whatever, and I can get that stabilization. And in some cases, if I'm shooting at 60 or 120 frames a second, don't need a glide cam or I don't need a stabilizer. I can go handheld. I know everyone will likely have a different reason for switching camera manufacturers, and like I said, and like I'll always say, it depends on how you use your equipment and what you want from your equipment. So for me, this does the job just fine, and it suits my needs, my shooting style. I needed a full frame camera or full frame sensor to complement some of the glass. B, it's got decent video for what I do. C, the resolution is fantastic for me to edit on and crop and have things printed large, which is wonderful. And D, I really like the in-body image stabilization of this camera. If you got any questions, drop it in the comments below. Let me know. I'm happy to answer questions. So I mean, this is not really a knock against one camera manufacturer or another. It's just some of the reasons why I chose to switch manufacturers, once again, to suit my needs.